What's up, Cradle fans? The time has finally come for the video you've all been asking me for, the Wintersteel video. Why have I taken so long? Well, I have a roommate, and he is officially my benchmark for who finishes books slowest. So he finally finished Wintersteel a couple days ago, like Friday, I think. And now I feel comfortable doing a video because he hears me. He's upstairs. He hears me, preaching all my thoughts, and he asked me, like, bro, don't ruin this for me. You're the worst with spoilers. I'm not the worst with spoilers. I'm great about spoilers, but he doesn't think so. So it's taken a bit, but thank you for holding out or for being patient with me. It'll be worth it, I think. All right, so this book had some interesting concepts, not just related to the book, but with like the pre-launch and with the actual launch and then post-launch. A lot of interesting moments that we're going to cover. Well, I'm also going to cover my own personal thoughts about the book. We're going to cover if my what I'm looking for in Wintersteel video had any merit to the book. It did. Then we're going to talk about some of the character progression. Not necessarily their cultivation progression, but their actual progression as characters. And now we're going to talk about some theories that relate to rest. I'm going to hint at some theories that are now, in my mind. And then I will tell you what videos are coming up. So that's the plan for this video. I'm going to try and make it sort of quick. So let's get into it. All right. Let's start off the video by talking about the launch. Not necessarily the pre-launch, but the launch. This is the best launch that Will and Hidden Gnome Publishing has ever had. So congratulations. They hit #1 in all of the Kindle store, which Will didn't think was possible. They had over 2,000 reviews within a week, which is absolutely absurd. And they broke the top 10 for the top 20 most read books of the week on all of the Kindle store, on all of Amazon. So I think they had broken the top 15 in the past, but they broke top 10, which is huge because especially for like fiction books, they get a lot of hype on the day of release, but they don't necessarily have the staying power to have a lot of hype throughout the whole week. This book did. So congrats to Will. Whatever you're doing, if you changed your process this time, it seems to be working. So let's keep that going. Let's keep that going for the next book. All right, let's talk about pre-launch for a bit, because this is the first time that Cradle has been popular enough that a leak would have been bad enough to affect lots of people. Because there was technically 2 leaks that we can thank the various parts of Amazon for. We first had the Chapter 1 leak that Will and team didn't expect, but Audible released to SoundCloud. It was like 98% of Chapter 1, right? So the team was like, all right, Damage Control, we'll just share it. They had already shared half of Chapter 4. But then Kindle releases the preview to a select device type, a select software type, and select customers. So the amount of people that were able to read it was in the low hundreds, maybe even not even 100. Fortunately, I was one of them. And I'm proud of the community for not just spoiling it everywhere, because that was the only real fear that the Hidden Gnome team had from what I saw on Reddit. Was Will just didn't want the book to be spoiled for the people who didn't want it spoiled. And I'm pretty proud of the community for stepping up and not spoiling it. There was some Reddit drama, which is always fun to watch from afar, but by and large, people were good people and did good things, and props to the community on that. So fandom response was pretty awesome. Post-launch, it was pretty interesting. A lot of scaling things to consider now that the community is becoming like really big. I believe the Discord had just hit 2,000 people, and the subreddit has over 8,000 people. So we're growing into a little bit of an army here. But anyway, let's move forward. My personal thoughts on the book itself. The one thing that really stood out to me in this book was the The dialogue, like, took a step up. The dialogue was never bad. It just wasn't, to me, like the something to mention. Yeah, he's great with one-liners. You know, Dross is really good with the comedic relief. Badass situations are pretty abundant, but the dialogue between all the characters throughout the whole book has never been as strong as it has been in Wintersteel. I found myself laughing more than 5 times throughout the book, and that's never happened before. I might have like one moment where I'm just like, oh shit, or you know, laugh out loud situation, but this book had a lot of them throughout. It was great. I think after like chapter 3, I think the dialogue just took a step forward, so that was really cool. The new writing style, in my opinion, created a more seamless story within just the container of the book itself. I talked a lot about last time how Uncrowned was like book 1 of 3. Well, Wintersteel was technically book 2 of 3, but it felt more like it could be book 1 of 1, with the exception of like, you need to know what's had happened in the tournament, but it felt like cohesive, like more cohesive. I also like how in this book he incorporated more of the fandom memes than he had before outside of the bloopers, with officially canonizing Tim as the Sword Sage, and then with the whole naming of the Blood Shadow. I thought that was awesome. He used all of the names that had come up in a fan discussion on Reddit long ago, and in my opinion, he chose the right name. I was totally for Ruby. Ruby makes more sense, and I'm glad that that's the way it turned out for all, you know, 1/3 of the book that Ruby was Ruby. The prologue was the most emotionally difficult chapter for me to read since Orthos leaving. And I read it like days before the book came out. So I'm just sitting on this, like, I'm sitting on this concept of Heaven's Glory being like total assholes, and how the Sword Sage should not have died, but he did. And oh god, it feels so tragic, especially like in retrospect, having seen how far the team has come and how much it's impacted Yaren. It completely changed how she defines herself. To see him die and to like be there in his first person view, and even in the last seconds, he didn't think he was gonna die. That was tough. That was tough, and I had to sit on it for days and days. That's why leaks are bad. That's why leaks are bad. I hope Will doesn't start putting all the juicy stuff after chapter 4 from now on. And I mentioned that the fandom is now starting to scale up, or attempting to scale up. It's going to be interesting. Good luck to the mods. Good luck to the Discord mods. Good luck to the admins of the Discord who run the Abidan Archive. We need more fan support to help keep that up to date. And I'm not a helper of this problem. I make these videos and I don't contribute to the Abidan Archive. So I'm going to try and start doing that. So help us scale by contributing to the Abidan Archive. If you have any interactions with Will that are world building related around questions, and he's given you the go ahead to publicize that stuff, maybe put it in the Abidan Archive so we can all benefit from your secret knowledge. Yeah, so let's move on. So 10 things I was looking forward to in Wintersteel was a video I made before, and I was right about a lot of stuff I didn't remember being right about. Eithan going all out was cool. Not as cool as I thought. I think that was one of those situations where Eithan has been hyped up for so long that to see him crush a Veiled Monarch, it's just kind of like, it's just another day with Eithan. It was interesting to see how he thought about things from his POV, but it was less exciting than I expected, and I think it was meant to be that way. I was looking forward to seeing what the other Dread God cults can do. For the most part, we saw that. We haven't seen much from the Silent Servants, but I mean, what are you gonna do? Lyndon feels like he's impervious to them, but we'll see. We got a few authority and existence answers. Actually, we kind of didn't. It just kind of perpetuated what we thought. We got a lot of answers about sages and heralds, but not so much about authority and existence. We learned that icons help grant authority over parts of reality, which are the laws of the way. But it didn't really touch into the difference between your own individual authority and then the authority that you need to manifest an icon, which then grants you additional authority over laws of existence. I don't know, still a little murky there, but I didn't feel confused at any point. We just didn't get any additional insights. At least I haven't realized them yet. Number 4, I screwed up big time. I was terrible at guessing which sage would train which person, mainly because I didn't expect Shamiara to not make the final 8. And I lost a bet because I didn't think the Sage of 1,000 Eyes would show up until they go to the Rose Gold continent. But what do I know? The hunger training, though, came out in a big way. I was very satisfied with that. Now Lyndon can do whatever he wants. He doesn't need resources anymore. He is his own resource, and he can cheat his way to winning, which is so in line with who he is as a person. Zeal joining the team. A lot of you didn't think this would happen. Well, guess what? It did happen. Even if it's for only a year, we now have a year for our lovable gang to win over the wondrously apathetic Zeal. Number 7, part 2 of Eithan underwhelms with his awesomeness. He advanced to Overlord in the most melodramatic way. Good for you, Eithan. Good for you. All right, the Wandering Rampage, which had never happened. I didn't realize that Dread Gods wake up really slowly. So that's news. Add that to the Abidan Archive. So far as defeat at the hands of, and I accidentally called this, and I forgot that I called this, but it was Yeren. Well done, Yeren. You are the Overherald we all deserve. And then number 10, again, super wrong. Didn't realize that Undersage was a thing. So I thought that he would boost his way to Overlord, which he tried to do. But he is, if you look in the character progression bit for Lyndon, he still sucks at self-awareness. So he accidentally manifested an icon instead of advancing to Overlord. Well done. So let's talk about character progression, because there's a couple points here that I think are really cool. And that mainly has to do with Mercy. So let's talk about Eithan a little bit. I feel like he didn't have much character progression. Like, who he is hasn't really changed. I mean, his Overlord revelations and his Archlord revelations he already He achieved some of his major goals. He's financing his family's future. They're now protected. Parts of the Rose Gold continent are going to be healed. So great. Awesome. His team still ended up winning, but he didn't have to be part of it. So he didn't have to show off his end game skills. And now he's an Archlord. But yeah, I don't know. I want more of Eithan, and we haven't gotten anything of Eithan, and I'm pretty sure it's because eventually there will be a book called Rose Gold that will learn more about the Aurelius family and Eithan and all his bag of tricks. Mercy had, in my opinion, the biggest character progression moment. She had the Lyndon moment from Uncrowned. She has been the cream of the crop, the best sacred artist out there, the genius above all geniuses for her entire life. She has never had to deal with true setbacks, like true setbacks. She even took like a fake gap year, a fake like rich girl gap year, like a sabbatical in between high school and college. She even did that, and it still ended up not mattering because she always had the golden parachute of the cheat code of her mother saving her if she ever got into a bad spot. Throughout her entire time with the team, she's been so casual and carefree because she knows she's so good that it doesn't matter. Well, she finally reaches the limit of her talent, not her potential, but her just basic talent, right? So she loses to Saphara, and then her mother just takes a big royal, dump on her. Excuse the imagery, but just like a public smackdown. And public humiliation is like not fun, especially because like Mercy's under Lord Revelation. I do the sacred arts because I want to make my mother proud. Then my mother publicly humiliates me in front of everyone, so that I'm forced to like really reconsider, where I'm at, like what I'm about. There's this one phrase or quote from Mercy I thought was interesting, where she comments on how she wasn't she didn't grow up on the battlefield like her mother. She's just good at tournaments. She's good at competitions. Well, that's not good enough anymore. You abandoned your family to go have fun with your friends and to try and grow as a person. You didn't, and you weren't good enough. And so now you're going to have to really, really push yourself to develop the willpower to continue advancing. Like that's the thing. She doesn't have the resolve, the heart, and the willpower yet to really take it to the next level. And we saw that in her fight with Sophara, part 2, at the end of the book, when she's manic and freaking out because everyone's around her dying and she's not strong enough to save them. She's not good enough. And so I think going forward, she's really going to do some like life and death training to resolve herself and to get like a stronger, like basically to temper who she is, to unlock her next stage of advancement. So I thought that was awesome. That was cool. It was heart-wrenching to see. I love how Fury just like slammed the shadow door. He didn't want to watch it. But yeah, Mercy, she screwed up. She didn't reach her potential. She didn't have the willpower. And her mother took the steps to ensure that she would give her the best chance to do so. So let's move on to Lyndon. Well, he's not worthless anymore. That was his Underlord revelation. He's now self-contained regarding his ability to progress, which is cool, because he's always been someone who's only been able to rely on himself for most of his life. Then he got into the Eithan Aurelia stage, where Eithan gave him everything, but he still, in Ghostwater, was reliant on himself. And we've seen Lyndon shine the most when it's up to him and him alone. He doesn't have anyone coming to save him. It's up to him. That's when he shines, and he shined again in this book. He's still like the most like unself-aware person in the group, but and now he can cheat with the hunger binding, grabbing memories and perceptions of other people, so he can get those different perspectives. So good for Lyndon. Yaren and Ruby had some huge moments for both of them, and the merging part isn't even what I'm talking about, but Yaren... Okay, first of all, the reason why Yaren never manifested the sword icon, in my opinion, was because she was just so in tune with her master that she was able to borrow that remnant's authority to like reflect the icon. But it was in direct contrast to what her Overlord revelation was, that there was no way she could manifest that icon, because she's using the Sword Sage's reflection of the sword icon. But then her Overlord revelation is she's not the Sword Sage, so she can't manifest that icon. It's not going to work. The laws of the Willverse state, it cannot work, so therefore she must find another way. And she's backed into a corner the last few books on needing to catch up, to keep pace, and to step it up, using her blood shadow. And it's now become so much of a part of her that she merges with it. And that's great. Unfortunately, we lose Ruby. Ruby had finally started to maintain some self-awareness and to develop her own personality and be her own person. But then she decides to give it all up, which is totally in line with the Underlord revelation. How she wants to protect everyone. She's tired of everyone getting slaughtered around her. She doesn't want to be alone. She wants to save everyone. Everyone thinks that Yaren is a wolf. She just is not a wolf. She's a titan. She's a protector. And so it's awesome that she didn't get the sword icon first. She merged with her blood shadow, which is something that's never happened before. because she was a selfless person, and that selfless identity transferred to the Blood Shadow. And so the Blood Shadow was willing to give up who it was as a person to protect everyone else. That's awesome. That totally fits. Totally fits. And it's just interesting that that ends up giving Yaren the ability to wreck shop for the forever now, basically. I mean, there's going to be challenges that are ridiculously hard for her, but her spirit is unbound. She's merged with her spirit. She can now probably heal herself using her Madra. There's a whole slew of cool things going on. But yeah, so character progression was really cool for most of the participants. Eithan, not so much. Mercy to a huge extent. I don't even know if she's going to be part of the group going forward. Who knows? But now we have Zeal, and I like him better anyway. So this book put to rest a lot of theories that have been sitting around for a long time, especially a couple going all the way back to Skysworn. And the first being that Subject 1, there's kind of three of them here, that Subject 1 is a Dread God, and it's the 5th Dread God, and it's still alive, and it's in the Labyrinth. That's a whole lot, and that was all revealed in the first prologue that I had to sit on for multiple days. Amazon, don't link the book anymore. We confirmed that sages do need to manifest an icon, and that is one of the major ways they are different from heralds, and that is what gives them their sage powers. We kind of thought that they had to permanently manifest an icon within their spirit, but I guess it's a little bit more abstract, and once you manifest the icon, it is a part of you and who you are, because you are a reflection of it. It is a reflection of you. I already talked about Ruby being the right and correct name for Yaren's Blood Shadow. Called it years ago. Go team. And then this is an interesting one. Bullet number 4, where Northstrider and the Weeping Dragon were 10,000% involved with the Reagan Shen and Tiberian fight. Fun fact, the theory that I wrote about this long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, the fan response was the reason I started this channel. So, confirmed. I am now happy that this channel exists, and I'm happy that that was right. Imagine if it wasn't. That would be kind of weird, but go team. Northstrider has the powers of the Phoenix Division. He has authority over the Law of the Way, known as Restoration, and he has been actively using it to administer the tournament. That's really cool, because all of us think of Northstrider as like this destructive, superpowered, thing. And now we know he has the dragon icon, the strength icon, and whatever icon is required to allow for restoration. So he has 2, most likely more, icons, which leads me to theories that I'll talk about in the next slide. A theory that Little Blue would help Lyndon purify the Madra he steals from others. That was predicted a long time ago, because it seemed pretty obvious. If Will wasn't going to use her to turn into a spear, then obviously he's going to use her to purify Madra. I mean, come on. The writing's on the wall. But no, it made sense. It was pretty common sense. What she was going to be used for is common sense. But how she was going to be used to do that, I had no clue. I thought that he was going to put Little Blue in his spirit, which that was directly called out as being a terrible idea. So that's cool. But a bond? That's even better. That's super cool. And then it allowed for Little Blue to become slightly less Little Blue. And then the last is that the 8-man empire does indeed require sages and not just heralds. I think a lot of you didn't think this was real, but it made sense. I just didn't expect that you'd need 4 sages to match 4 heralds. But in hindsight, that should have been... actually, in hindsight, that would not have been obvious, because we didn't know the difference between heralds and sages. But it's cool that they need both. Go team. All right, so theories abound. Lots of new stuff to think about. I'm going to do a whole video on the icon collectors, which are the monarchs. They collect icons. Actually, some of the sages do too. And I think that icon collecting is the key to being really strong whenever you ascend. All right, the Sacred Valley iconography, those 4 badges that they use for the different techniques, those are icons. We don't know their names, but pretty sure the shield icon, or sorry, the shield badge is the shield icon, and the hammer badge is like the creation icon, or like the creator icon. But as for the arrow and the scepter, who knows? The scepter, I'll leave it for the video. But yeah, we know that those are icons, but we know that they're not called just the scepter icon or the arrow icon or the hammer icon. How do we know that? I asked Will, and this was right after the book came out, so he was more willing to answer book questions, and he confirmed that with the caveat of, yes, they're icons, no, those aren't the names of those icons. Then we have the divine armor theory, which is how we've gotten hints over the last few books of what Linden's endgame armor will look like, or what it will incorporate, and how it will be very Iron Man-esque in the book Endgame, when he can just summon it on top of his body instead of having to open up his, overflowing closet void space. And then finally, I think this goes along with the first one, so spoiler alert, but North Strider is waiting to ascend until he has manifested a certain number of icons. And I think that's what Osriel did, and I think that's why Osriel was so powerful. I mean, he's a freak and he's talented, but I'm pretty sure because he existed prior to the Dread Gods, that he was able to manifest icons, many of them, and upon ascending, it gave him a lot more power, a lot more skills to use to incorporate into his path and into his ability to wage war at the Abidan level. So, we're nearing the end of the video, and so now it's time to talk about some of the upcoming videos that I'll be doing, and it's where I address the bets that I lost. I'm not saying I'm never going to bet on Will's books anymore, but the hindsight bit of this is that I probably shouldn't, because in analyzing my ability to bet against future Will books, I'm like 25% on being right. I've lost 3 out of 4. And last year you all saw how terrifying that was for me. Well, now I've lost 2 out of the 3 bets I made this year. 2 of them involve romance and kissing, so I'm going to combine them into one. And I will be making a lost bet video discussing Linden's non-Yeren romances along the way, as well as a detailed, and the stipulation is I have to do at least 5 minutes of the video analyzing in detail the final kissing scene. And I think you know how excited I am for that. Also, thank you to the all the various people who've told me how excited you are to see it. My pain is your pleasure, per usual. I'm going to get bets correct next time, and then we won't have to go through this anymore. I might do a video reviewing the theories I've made over time, because now we're getting to the point where I'm starting to forget what I've said in the past, in previous videos, Reddit posts. So I'm thinking about doing a video where I go over some of the really good ones, the bad ones, and then just the horrifically ugly ones that I didn't know what I was talking about. And then I'll eventually do a video about what I think Bloodline will be about. Right now, I want to make a shout out to Condra. Will has shared some of her art a couple times, so you might be following her on Instagram. But she made a really interesting point at Discord the other day, that for almost all of the books, the title of the book is what either Yeren or Linden get at the end of the book. With the exception of Unsold, which you could argue that Yeren got an Unsold at the end of the book, but in Soulsmith, Lyndon gets the Soulsmith badge and kind of becomes a Soulsmith at the end of the book. Black Flame, he masters the Black Flame path. Well, he masters the basics of the Black Flame path and becomes a Black Flame sacred artist in the eyes of others by the end of the book. Skysworn, he's Skysworn by the end of the book. Ghostwater, he gets Ghostwater at the end of the book. Underlord, he becomes an Underlord at the end of the book. Uncrowned, Yern becomes an Uncrowned at the end of the book. This is the one caveat. And then Wintersteel, Lyndon gets a Wintersteel badge at the end of the book. He doesn't get the sword one, but he gets the void one. So go team. So I'm assuming someone gets a bloodline at the end of Bloodline. Or maybe someone learns they already have one. I don't know. But this video is at least... It's almost a half hour, this video is. And I didn't want it to be. But you get what you get. So thank you all for watching. If you're interested in some of the other stuff I'm doing that's not related to this, I'll put a link in the description. Otherwise, look for more videos in the future. Thanks for watching.